Hey there, Alan Matthews here from Classical Guitar Shed, and in this video we're going to be talking about how to know when you should change your guitar strings. Do you need new strings? Would you like new strings? How do you know when to change your strings? If you like this video, please subscribe and we'll do it again sometime. So one of the things I get asked a lot is, do I need new strings? Should I change my strings? How do I know when to change my strings? And it's an interesting question. It's different for classical guitar, nylon string guitar, versus steel string guitar or electric guitar. And the reason is this: the top strings, the top sounding strings closest to the floor, are metal on steel string guitars. That's why it's called steel string. And they can get really rusty and really just hurt your fingers. And so it's painful to play them. And so then you're going to want to change those whenever they feel bad. They can also be really dead sounding and not very bright. Well, that's how to change those. But what about nylon strings? Because they don't do that. They don't get rusty. Technically, we can play a set of nylon strings. I've played them that were 25 years old, maybe older, and they still held tune. You could get them in tune easily enough. And I mean, they didn't sound very good, but technically they were there. They were fine. I could have played that guitar for days and months without changing those strings. So technically, you never need to change the strings on a classical guitar unless they wear out and break or something like that. So you can keep playing it. But, and here's the big but, it's nice to have new strings. There are a lot of benefits to putting new strings on your guitar. First off, they sound good. They're going to be, the basses are going to be punchy and bright as opposed to boo, 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 very woofy and non-distinct. And so that's a good thing. The top notes, the top strings on guitars, they get really scratchy. Because we play with our fingers and our fingernails, we beat them up. And so whenever you go like this, then oftentimes they can be very noisy, which means that when you play a note, it can be like you're being followed by a flock of geese. There's all this noise that comes along with playing these strings that are really beat up. You get different, it's interesting. With my personal taste is, I change the top strings, the top sounding strings closest to the floor, the nylon strings, much more frequently than I change the basses. I just buy them in bulk, the top two strings. I buy them in bulk and change them every week or two because I like the sound on this particular guitar. I'm not suggesting you do this. I like the sound better of new strings. And whenever they start to deaden, this guitar kind of goes very glassy and cold. And so I like the new strings on it. Other people may keep the same upper strings for like literally a decade and they like it and they don't want to change those other ones, and so then they only change the basses and they change the basses more frequently. You can buy sets of just the basses because of this. And so it's completely different. It's a different taste for different people doing this. Do you need to? Technically no, but you might like to, because the benefits are the sound quality and the feel of the right hand under the nylon strings for the uppers. Sometimes you'll also get some wear and tear to where the wound strings will actually be unwinding, and then it's kind of nice to change the strings just because you have to feel that. You're not going to cut yourself or anything like that. It's really soft metal. They wind this with nickel maybe or some sort of alloy, and it's not going to hurt you, but it's just nice to not have a big wound in your string. But changing your guitar strings also comes with some downsides as well. And so you need to be aware of those because they're downsides. The first and the biggest one is that it's a chore to change the strings, right? Especially if you haven't done it very many times, then we have knots to tie in these strings. We have knots down here as well. So there's a particular method to changing classical guitar strings. And so you have to do that. And so that's a project. If you haven't done it but once or twice, then, or not at all, then you have to learn how to do that. So it's going to take, you should, sign up for half an hour, a full hour to do this. So that's one of the downsides. Even if you're good at it, it's still going to take 15 minutes or so to swap out a set of strings. The other thing is that they take a while to stretch out. When they're new, then, you tune it up, everyth's nice, and then you come back and it just sounds terrible because the strings have this memory and they're going to try to stretch out over the next little while. You can reduce that by stretching the strings manually a little bit, but still it's going to be a while before the thing is staying in tune like you want it to. So you're going to spend more time in each practice just getting your guitar in tune. So that's probably the biggest downside to changing your strings. So do you need to change your strings? Probably not. Would you like to change your strings? Maybe so. And if you do, just be aware of the stretch out period and the fact that it will just take a little while to do so. But it's greatly empowering if you do. If it's your first time, then see the link below and you can get a tutorial on how to change strings. And just go for it because it's part of playing the guitar. So I hope you've enjoyed this, and go forth and change yourself some strings if you want to. All right, please subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you soon. Take care.